Hello guys, welcome to my channel and thank you for stopping by. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you how to properly draft a basic bodice pattern, but this is a very different one in the sense that I'm going to be giving some basic explanations in this. Like, I've been having this question over the years, but why is the bust measurement always measured out on the chest line? The hip measurement is measured out on the hip line and the waist measurement on the waistline. Why the bust measurement measured on the chest line? Sorry. So in this video I'm going to be explaining to you why it is done like that, and also I'm going to be explaining to you on how to properly create your dart, on dart manipulations, how to perfectly get your dart. I'm also going to be explaining in this video some basic constants that we have in fashion designing, like the shoulder slope. Everybody always have that mindset that it has to be 1 inch constant. No, this is not a constant. I'm going to be explaining that to you in this video, and what I'm going to be explaining to you in this video is based on my experience as a fashion designer over the years, and also my researches I've done right on this fashion designing, on dart manipulation and all of that. So if you are watching me right now and you are yet to subscribe to my channel, I don't know what you're waiting for really. I just think you need to click on that subscribe button now and then turn the notification bell so that you get notified when I post new videos, because you're going to be having a lot of interesting videos on this channel. I think we should just go straight into the video. All right, please keep watching. To draft the basic bodice pattern, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to be taking out the zip allowance. Actually, this is going to be for the back, all right, not for the front, but for the sake of the beginners. So you're going to be taking 1.5 inches zip allowance. So now I'm going to be folding this back in because I want to go ahead to cut my front first. And in cutting out the front, I'm not going to be needing that zipper allowance, but for the sake of the beginners, that was why I actually made that clear to you. Okay, I'm going on to rule the lines, which is going to serve as my shoulder line and also serve as the baseline from where I'll be taking out all my vertical measurements. So if you have a pattern paper with you right there, you can go ahead to do that also. So we're going to be labeling this the shoulder line. Now that's the shoulder line. So the next thing to do now is to take out all our vertical measurements. Okay, now for the vertical measurements, we're going to be going on to measure our bust point. For the sake of the beginners, for you to measure your bust point, you're going to put your tape measure on your shoulder and you're going to measure down to where your nipple point lies. That is actually your nipple point. Okay, and we use that also for our bust point. So for me, mine is 10 inches. So this is the 10 inches mark here. I'm just going to transfer this same line on this place also so that I can have a perfectly straight line. Now that is for my bust point. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to measure out my waist measurement. For me, my waist measurement is 16 inches. All right, so for a beginner, if you want to measure out your waist measurement, you're going to place your tape measure on your shoulder. That's to take your measurement from that place down to your waist. All right, so from my shoulder down to my waist is 16 inches. And now I'm going to measure out my hip line. All right, to my hip line is 23 inches. I'm going to do the same measurement on this side so that I can have a straight line. Okay, so I'm going to repeat what I did here. I'm going to repeat that here again. This is the 16 inches and this is for the 23 inches. Forming a straight line with these lines that I have drawn out already. The next thing to do now, I'm going to go ahead to label out all my lines. So here is my first line. Okay, this is the bust line. All right, and this is the waist line. Okay, and this is my hip line. All right, So now I'm done labeling the lines. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now, the first thing we did is to measure out vertical lines. All right, the second thing is to label them out. Now the third aspect, this third segment we're going into right now, is to create out our neck. So for the neck, I'm going to be explaining some basic things on the neck. You know, naturally on the neck we always have this constant that it is 3 inches for the neck width, you know, 3 inches by 3 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to use my curved rule to rule that out. Now, why do we always use 3 by 3 inches for our neck measurement? The reason is for when you use 3 by 3, when you're done cutting this particular neck, it's going to give you a round neck. You understand, like a polo kind of neck. So it's not going to be too wide. It's not going to be too tight. Okay, that is why we always imbibe the culture of using 3 inches by 3 inches. Now, once you're done with that, then the next thing you're going to be doing now, you're going to measure out your shoulder, which is 1 point on the shoulder blade to the next point on the shoulder. That's 15 inches for this tutorial. All right, so now that 15 inches, for the sake of the beginners, you're going to be dividing that 15 inches into 2. All right, so dividing it into 2 is going to give you 7.5 inches. All right, so I'm going to be measuring out my 7.5 inches on this shoulder line. Okay, so this is 7.5 inches. All right, so once you're done with that, so on this 7.5 inches mark, now for the shoulder slope, you are going to be determining the shoulder slope by the general physique of the individual. I've had clients that I particularly use 1.5 inches for the shoulder slope. All right, so that 1 inch for shoulder slope is not a constant. You have some clients that, you know, while interacting with them, you also take time to study the kind of body physique and body shape. Some persons that their shoulder totally comes down. All right, so for those type of body size, the shoulder slope is going to be more than 1 inch. And we have for some, especially for some men, some builded men, that they have this straight shoulder. For those kind of men, you can't say that you're going to use 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Or the shoulder slope depends on the kind of the shape and the structure the particular individual has. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be using that 1 inch shoulder slope, but note that it's not constant. So now for this shoulder slope, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, the general body and shoulder slope that we have. So I'm going to be connecting from this shoulder slope to the neck. And the next segment now is to form out our chest line. Now, to get to chest line, you can totally measure this chest line on the individual. You're going to be measuring from the shoulder to the upper bust line of the individual. But if you, for the sake of the beginners, if you're unable to measure that, then you can calculate it. So which means that to get a chest line, we're going to divide our bust measurement divided by 6, whatever we have, which is our x. We're going to be adding 1.5 inches to it. So now I've done this already. My bust is 39 inches divided by 6, which gives me 6.5. I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches onto it. It's going to give me 8. So this 8 now is my chest line. I'm going to be measuring that 8 inches right now. Okay, going to roll out the 8 inches to form a straight line. Okay, so I'm going to be labeling this my chest line. So let me just go ahead to use my marker to label out this for proper visibility. So I'm going to be taking these measurements that I measured here. I'm going to be extending the line here. So I'm going to be extending that line. Okay. Okay, I'm going to be measuring this line. I'm going to divide it by 2, which will give me 3.5. So on this 3.5 mark, I'm going to be coming in by 0.75. This is not a constant also. It depends on the shape and the size of the individual. So I can come in by half of an inch, I can come in by 0.75, I can come in by 1 inch. So but for this tutorial, I'm going to be coming in by 0.75. So why we do this is to take out the excess that is always around this area. So take out the excess. That is why we always come in by this amount. I'm going to be connecting this line. I'm going to be forming my armhole curve now. So I'm going to be connecting this line to my chest line. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now. So that is our armhole. The next thing we're going to be doing now is to input in all our horizontal measurement. Quickly explain some basic things to you. So now we're going on to the dart measurements now. All right, I need you to pay attention to this area. Now for the dart. For us to measure the dart, you're going to be measuring your nipple to nipple measurement. Why we measure the nipple to nipple measurement is to get the midpoint of our front bodice. So for me, my nipple to nipple measurement is 7 inches divided by 2 is going to give me 3.5. That is like forming the midpoint of my body. So now I'm going to be measuring out that 3.5 inches on my bust line, on my waistline, and on my hip line. So now we're going on to the dart manipulation. What is a dart? Darts are used to shape and give shape to a fabric. The darts are used to shape a fabric to fit the body. Okay, darts provide fullness, all right, to body curves. We use that to bring out the shape and also bring out the curve of our body, which means a dart must be accurate when fitting, when marking, when stitching, and also when pressing. That regularly forms a triangular shape. Okay, a dart is not straight, it's not slant. All right, darts form a triangular shape. Okay, so we have different types of darts. All right, we have the waist dart, the shoulder dart, the neck dart, the waist dart, the curved dart, the bust dart. All right, but for this tutorial, I'm going to be streamlining it down to 2 types of darts, which is the bust dart and the waist dart. All right, so what is a bust dart? Bust dart is a short triangular fold that helps a garment to fit properly and perfectly to the bust area. It starts from the side seam and ends like about 1 inch to half of an inch to or quarter of an inch from the bust point. So it starts from the seam line and stops on either 1 inch or half of an inch or quarter of an inch, depending on the bust size or the cup size. So from the bust point. And note, you have to note this. Give your garment a proper fitting. This bust dart mustn't get to your nipple point. Now to the waist dart. All right, what is a waist dart? A waist dart helps to reduce fullness across the waist. All right, and narrows the waistline. All right, so that is the work and the function of a waist dart. So we need to take proper attention to this. A waist dart helps to reduce fullness across the waist and also narrows the waistline. It gives your waistline the particular shape, you understand, the particular shape and fitting to your waistline. I hope you really get and understand what I've just tried to explain to you. In the video, I'm going to be explaining to you how to calculate your own dart, particular to your own size. So now let's go on to the video. So now we're going to be drafting out our waistline now. All right, so once you've measured out your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, I'm just going to be ruling that out to form a straight line. Okay, so now this is it. We're not going to get to the chest line for the front bodice. In this video, I'm going to be explaining to you why the bust measurement is measured on the chest line, not on the bust line. All right, so keep watching and keep paying attention. So to actually calculate your own dart measurement. There is a formula to it. This formula, I actually got this formula based on my research on that manipulation. So now the formula goes thus. You're going to take your half bust, which is your bust divided by 2, half bust plus 1 inch minus half waist plus half inch. So whatever you get, you're going to be adding half inches to it. That is your dart ratio. So now what I'm trying to say in excess is bust, your bust measurement divided by 2, okay, plus 1 inches minus the waist measurement divided by 2 plus half inches. Whatever you get, you're going to be adding half inches to it. So that gives you your dart ratio, right? So which is 3:1. Subsequent videos, I'm going to be explaining this extensively, all right, on the dart manipulation. Okay? So now for the essence of this basic bodice we are making, we are still going to go on to make do with the half inches for the waist dart that we use for the normal basic bodice. All right, so now going on to that, we're going to be taking out half of an inch on this waist and half of an inch on this side also. I'm now going to be connecting this line to the hip line and this line to the hip line. All right, our dart mustn't get to our hip, so we're going to be coming up by like 2 inches, the regular measurement. All right, but for a taller person, for someone who has a much taller height, all right, you can go up by 3 inches. All right, for a regular person, all right, just go up by 2 inches from your hip line. Okay, so we're going to be connecting that line now to this waistline here. All right, we're going to be connecting to the waistline. Okay, we're doing the same thing, also connecting to the waistline. All right, now once we're done with that, we're coming to this bust line. We're not going to take our dart to the bust line, all right, because that wasn't stop on the nipple point, as I said earlier. All right? We're going to be coming down by 1 inch, all right, from the bust point, coming down by 1 inch from this bust line. So we're just going to connect these lines to meet up with that 1 inch on the bust line. That's what we're going to be doing now. Okay, so now that is for the waist dart. All right, now we're going on to the bust dart. We're going on to the bust dart. Okay, we're going to be measuring the distance from our chest line to our waistline. Okay, and from this point we're going to divide it by 2. All right, is that you do it this way, or the another way to go about on this bust line is to come down by like 2 inches from the bust. We're going to be coming down by like 2 inches from the, I use this particular formula a lot of times. All right, to go about your bust dart, you also can use another formula whereby you measure from your shoulder line to your waistline for the front, and your shoulder line to your waistline for the back. All right, and you're going to be deducting this measurement. Whatever is the deduction you have is going to be the length of your bust dart. Let's say the shoulder line to your bust to your waistline for the front is, let's say, 16 inches, and then your shoulder line to your waistline for the back is 14 inches. You're going to be deducting this, which is 16 minus 14. All right, so what's the difference? The difference you have, which is 2 inches, that is what you're going to be coming down with on this bust line. Okay, so now before we go on to the bust line, let's first of all take all our horizontal measurements for this basic bodice pattern. All right, where I'll be explaining why the bust measurement is measured on the chest line. All right, so now for my hip line, my hip is 40 inches divided by 4, which is going to give me 10. So I've marked out my 10. All right, now for my waistline, my waist is 30 inches divided by 4, which is 7.5. Okay, so this is my 7.5. all right, now whatever thing we take out for our dart, we must return it back into our body. All right, so for this dart, we took out 1 inches for the dart. I'm going to be replacing back that 1 inch on my waistline. Now for my bust is 40 inches as well. So now divided by 4, which is 10. All right, but I'm not going to be taking the measurement on my bust line. I'm going to be measuring out that 10 inches for my bust line on my chest line, okay, which is 10. All right, so why did I actually measure this bust measurement on my chest line? The reason is because on almost every individual, the chest measurement is always smaller compared to your bust measurement. Or of individual whereby maybe they might have their chest line bigger, having the bigger measurements than the bust line. All right, but for like 95% of human shape, the bust measurement is always more than the chest measurement. So that is why we measure the bust measurement on the chest line, because the bust measurement is way bigger, more than the chest line. I'll try to explain what I'm trying to say. All right, for example, now bust measurement, my bust is 40 and my chest measurement is 32. All right, so now if I divide my 40 into 4, it's going to give me 10. If I divide 32 into 4, it's going to give me 8. Right, so now if I measure 8 inches on this chest line, which means if I am to measure my chest on my chest line, which is 8 inches, and I now go ahead to measure 10 inches on my bust line, you see that it's not going to give me an accurate shape. I'm going to have this kind of slanted, it's going to be slanted, like this, going to come here, and then this is now going to come here. You can see it's not going to be giving us a perfect shape. All right, so that is why we measure the bust measurement on the chest line. All right, because since the bust measurement is always bigger than the chest measurement, so we do measure the bust measurement on the chest line. So now I've gotten out my waistline and my chest line. So I'm just going to be connecting these lines together. All right, so I'm going to be connecting my chest line to my waistline and down to my hip line. Okay, so now, so for my I'm going on now to measure out my bust dart. All right, now the bust dart gives your, as I explained earlier, that the bust dart is a short triangle fold that helps a garment fit properly to the bust area. All right, it starts from the seam, so from the side seam, and the tip ends like a half of an inch or a quarter of an inch or an inch from the bust point. All right, note that your bust dart mustn't get to your bust point. So now for my bust dart, I'm going to be coming down by 1.5 inches. All right, I'm going to be coming down by 1.5 inches. Okay, so now on this 1.5 inches mark, I'm going to be connecting that line to my bust point. Okay, so once I'm done with that, then I'm going to be deducting half of an inch from both sides. Okay, so I'm going to be connecting that to my bust point, and mind you, I'm going to be coming, because depending on the, I'm going to be explaining this also extensively in my subsequent videos under the dart manipulation. All right, how to calculate your dart in respect to your cup size. All right, so your cup size makes you, it determines the point at which your bust dart is going to be stopping. All right, so let's go into the, for the sake of this bodice that we are creating today, I'm going to be coming by 1 inch, okay, for my bust point. All right, so I'm going to be connecting these lines to that 1 inch that I have there. Okay, so here now I'm going to be cutting out these lines. Okay, these lines I'm going to be cutting them out as to serve as dart, okay, for the bust dart. All right, now, so now the next thing I'm going to do now is to add my sewing allowance onto this. But before I do that, you know, I said earlier that wherever there is a dart, whenever we take out a dart, all right, we must replace it back into the, if we remove out this bust dart, all right, it's going to affect our garments. And you know, I said earlier that I said earlier when defining a dart that is are used to shape fabrics, all right, to fit the body without altering the normal, you understand, shape of the body, without altering the garments. Now we're going to be replacing back this 1 inch that we deducted from this side. All right? So I'm going to be adding down 1 inch down here at this side. Okay, I'm going to be putting back that 1 inch. All right, so now I'm going to be adding my sewing allowance of 1 point. You can add 1 inch. I'm going to be adding 1 inch. Let's just add 1 inch for the sake of this tutorial. All right, so I'm going to be adding 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch to this bodice. All right, so that is our seam allowance. So now I'm going to be extending this our bust dart to get to a seam allowance. Okay, so I'm just extending the lines. All right, so that's where we are cutting out. Okay, so now we're going to be replacing back this side dart here. I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch. I'm going to be replacing back that 1 inch. All right, and I'm going to be connecting this 1 inch to the front bodice here. Okay, all right, so just going to be connecting down the lines. All right, so now this is for the front. All right, so we are done with constructing basic bodice for the front. You see how it's looking already. Okay, so now I'm going to go on now to construct the basic bodice for the back. All right, but before I do that, I'm going to be using my marker to be tracing out all these lines so that we can actually understand them for proper clarity. Okay, so I'm going to be tracing out all the lines with my marker. So now I'm going on to, so this is all for the front. All right, so I'll be going on to draft the back pattern. Thank you so much, dear, for watching this video to the end. I hope you've learned 1 or 2 things from this tutorial, and I hope it has been impactful. I hope I have impacted knowledge into you in one way or the other. Okay, so let's move right on to the next video for the complete drafting and cutting of this basic bodice pattern. We're going to be cutting the back bodice in the next video. So come on, let's move on to the next video to complete this tutorial. I hope to see you there.